Hi friends, Renee Keys here with Carolina Creative. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here with card making ideas for you. Today I'm going to use one of the stamp sets I've been having a lot of fun with. This is Spotlight on Nature. I just haven't done a video with these yet. Really like the stamps. Couple nice sentiments. I've been mixing it up with a lot of different sentiments. But the thing that I like best about this bundle is not only the stamps, but the dies. There is a set. There's 2 pages of these. They're all circles, and they all have different die cuts on them. Some are dots and dashes, some look like little flowers, but they're all different, and you can see how you can pair them and mix and match. So I'm going to use a few of those today. The only thing that I've done so far in advance is I have picked a card base. I picked a Daffodil Delight. And then I used my embossing folder and I pulled it out to show you. I used exposed brick. I like this a lot. It's kind of subtle. The brick is small. It's kind of almost distressed looking. So I'm using that as a background for what I'm going to put on here. And then out of the Floral Delight, I picked just a gingham. That's all. I'm going to put these together and then be putting my circles and, stamped pieces and everything on top of that. So that's my base. The first thing I want to do is die cut, and then I can move my Stamp and Emboss machine, which is sitting right here. I can move this out of my way. So I am going to die cut one of these. You will see it can be a little bit messy, simply because there's a lot of little parts and pieces that need to come out of here. So let me flip this down to my work area, and I'm going to crank this through. I've got a stamp on my way. Crank this right on through. Okay. There we go. And now I'm going to lift this and move this out of my way. I'm just going to put it on the floor for now. It'll go back to its home shortly. So what you'll see is it did die cut nice and clean, but all these little pieces are in there. So you end up, I'm going to go ahead and just make a mess right here. Usually I do it right over the trash can. I'm using this from the Take Your Pick tool. Usually it's just laying on my desk. I need to just go ahead and get another holder. But this helps punch out all these little pieces that need to come out of the die before I use it again. So I'm just going to set that aside for now. Sweep this out of my way so I have a place to work. So you can see the beginnings of what's going to come together here. And I did die cut a second circle, and I used a different pattern. I decided to mix and match. So I'm going to put my sentiment on this smaller circle. But for right now, I want to stamp and do some watercoloring with pencils. So I'm going to stamp using gray granite. I like this. It's a neutral. It's not as bold as using black, and so I like to use this a lot if I'm going to watercolor. It just provides a nice little base without being too over the top. And you can see I don't have a huge circle here. I could have gone bigger. I decided to go down a size so that I have more of the image on here. And before I pick up that ink, I'm going to wipe it up. I have more of the image to work with, and it really fills the circle as opposed to going with a bigger circle. Yes, I'd have more stem and maybe an additional leaf, but that's not a real big deal to me. So what I'm going to, I almost forgot the second thing I was going to do. I need an insert for my card, and I didn't grab one. And what I wanted to do was stamp just the flower. I'll get a little bit of leaf there too. Make sure I've inked up enough of it in the corner. Yep, that's what I had in mind. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm ready to watercolor. And I've picked out 3 colors to work with. I'm trying to keep this simple and rather muted. So I have my Daffodil Delight, which is going to match my card base and paper, and Crushed Curry, so I can put a little accent. And then this is Old Olive, so I can do a little hint of color on the stems. So I'm going to just start with the Old Olive first. And I'm just kind of stroking this on. I'm not trying to color everything in. So let's just put a hint of color here, here. It's going to be subtle, and I kind of like that. This doesn't need to be bold and in your face. I could have actually stamped this off and made the gray even lighter. It's not bad though. It's not as bold as the, is it basic gray? Yeah, basic gray is a little darker than this, tending a little more toward black. And so I like this better. I think it's just a little lighter than that. Okay, so now I'm going to put some highlights, and I'm just going to do some strokes. I'm not coloring all this in because I'm going to use my blender pen. And then on the outer edges, and I'm going to drag all this color here in a minute, I'm going to mix in some of my Daffodil Delight. So I'm going to have these two-toned blossoms. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to smush a little bit of the green. See how it makes it a little darker? But again, I'm not trying to color the whole thing. You can. Some people, you know, like to color the whole thing in, and that's fine. I'm just going to wipe that off on a piece of paper because I don't want to pull the green up here. So now I'm just going to blend these colors together. So I kind of have the two-tone. I have a little yellow, I have a little gold, and I'm just pulling the color out to the edges. You can really see it here. Pulling, and so it's going to fade. It'll be lighter at the edges. And then if I want to add just a little bit more of the crushed curry over the top here, just as an accent, I could, and I will, just a little bit, so you can really pick out the two tones. Okay, that's that. The only other thing I didn't stamp, and I should have grabbed, I think I'm going to do this in crushed curry. So it's a little bit of a contrast and a little bit bolder than the daffodil card base. So I'm just using the word thanks. This is just going to be a simple thank you card. I'm not going to put anything on the inside yet. It may end up saying, I appreciate you, something along those lines. But for right now, I think I just want to keep this simple. So there are the pieces I'm going to work with to assemble my card. I'm going to go ahead and put this inside. So let me dot my glue here. Oh, a little heavy there in the corner. There. And make sure I get this corner good. Okay. So there's my corner, or my insert. And make sure I've got it going the right direction. And I'm just going to eyeball this so I have yellow border on all four sides, like that. Now I will use my Stampin' Seal because of the texture on here. And now I have to decide. There's two different ways you can use this. If you like more, the mortar shows through on this side, and I think I'm going to leave it rough. I like that you can feel it. So I'm going to leave that side exposed. That's the side I've been using the most. But either side can work. It just depends on, you know, what kind of a look you're going for. Okay, let's get this held down on all the edges. And there we go. Line that up. I'm now going to put my strip. This is just 2 inches by 4 inches. Nothing magical about that. I'm going to go ahead and, isn't it a shame to hide those pretty flowers, but I have different pretty flowers I'm going to put on the front. So again, this gingham came out of the Floral Delight. It's the back, what I call the back side. So now I'm going to put my pretty flower, and I have to decide what angle do I want this on. You know, there's a lot of different ways you can go. I think I'm going to go on a little bit of an angle that way. And for this piece, I am just going to use my Seal Plus. Make sure it adheres. It's going over smooth paper and rough paper, and it's just a little bit of everything. Okay. And now I brought out my dimensionals because I'm going to pop this off. But before I do that, I think what I want to do is just give this a roll in some ink. Let's see how we're doing. Yep, I want this, and I'm angling it so I get a little bit more on there. It's a little more visible. That's what I'm looking for. I don't like too many white edges. So I do find, and I could have done it on this one too, but this is just going to make this pop a little bit more. So now I will put some dimensionals behind this. Now I could have stamped more on here. I could have maybe put the little flower if I did some fancy stamping, but I think I'm probably, or leaves even, I could have put some leaves on there. But I think, again, this is going to be simple, but a little bit elegant, and I'm just going to overlap this. So it says thanks. A couple of gems on here would be fun. Or. I do have my Daffodil Delight ribbon, so let's do that. Let's tie a bow. And of course, the last thing I'm going to do before I forget is my Wink of Stella. I always have to put just a little bit of a Wink of Stella on there. It needs a little bit of shimmer. That's probably one of my favorite products is the Wink of Stella. Okay, let's get this bow straight and then I'll see where I need to trim. One side's too long. So now do I put, I think I'm going to put it down there. So I'm going to grab a glue dot so I can adhere this. I find these to be the simplest to use because you can roll them and kind of mold them and make them hide just like that. So I'm going to put that down there. This side seems just a little long to me, so let's give that a little haircut. Okay, so I've used glue dots, I've used liquid glue, I've used my Stampin' Seal, so just a little bit of everything. So now I'm going to carefully, I don't want to drag too much more color here, but I want to give it, I'm going to just put a streak or two on the leaf. I want to put it on the flower, and I'm going to do the same thing on the inside. So now there's room to write a nice message on there. Maybe I still want, I don't want a lot, so I'm going to use the little ones. Let's put one up there. 3, that's all I need. 3. Your eye likes odd numbers. And so they will, you know, an artist or an art school or any kind of design, they will tell you odd numbers. So here's my finished card. I did emboss. I have a little piece of designer paper. I die cut 2 different types of circles and then watercolored with my pencils and, you know, picked 2 colors. You could have coordinated. I think you can see with this type of a stamp, you can make these flowers any color. You can use any kind of DSP behind it. You can make them blue, you can make them pink or yellow or orange or red or anything. And so you may be seeing me play with this for a couple more videos showing you different ways to use it. But really pretty, very simple thank you card. There's my card making tip for today. If you like the products and the projects you've seen here, you can find me at Carolina Creative or hashtag Carolina Creative. I am on the Stampin' Up! Network. It's Renee Keese at StampinUp.net. Thanks for joining me today. Stay tuned for the next video.